The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
My dad went and saw the new Refn film this weekend.
Oh, God, what a terrible way to start a sentence.
And here's the thing about it. He hated it, by the way. In fact, I can tell you exactly what he said.
I didn't even know Refn had released a movie. I thought he was dead.
Yeah, I was close to making you review it, and then there's just other stuff that needed dealing with. So I figured, you know what? We don't have to be the network that does all Refn all the time. But
that's a very quick way to start, like, increasing the national susceptibility to suicide.
Minimal dialogue, acting range virtually non-existent, inkling of a plot, sets and costumes designed by an autistic 8-year-old boy, bloody violence symbolic of something. I'd say the ending made no sense, but that would imply a plot to measure it against. I can only guess it got in the film feasible because there weren't enough films to fill these days. My response to him, Refn is a weird director, and generally his stuff is well received, though I'm not the least shocked he didn't appeal to you. Won't argue that. Thought the New York City Museum of Modern Art was total junk. Won't disagree with that. My father, ladies and gentlemen.
So what's the title of this thing that Refn did?
The new Refn is Her Private Hell.
I have not seen even an inkling of a trailer for that. So, okay.
Yeah, neither have I. I actually only know of it because I checked the Wikipedia page. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And now, here's your host, the Eggy Mule to my shorty Boyd, Robert Winfrey.
Once again, you've made a reference I do not understand.
So, I don't know why it got into my head. It's a bit from the Wire. As a matter of fact, when Jesse and I did our review from I think it's part of the reason why it's slummed in my head is I just did all the prep work for the next sessions, which is the entirety of From the Corner to the Deuce. So when we did those reviews of the Wire,
okay, you mentioned that like each verse is going to be one of the reviews, and each one is going to be done in a different style.
No. I said it was going to be set to Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Okay.
So anyway, so the Wire stuff's fresh in my head, and I was thinking about there's a scene where Slim Charles is talking to Avon, and they're trying to gather up enough hitters to go after Marlowe, and the whole conversation is basically Avon keeps asking Slim Charles about guys, and they all have funny names, and Slim Charles keeps coming up with reasons why they don't work. So the first one is Peacock, and Peacock got caught up with a bunch of Dominicans, so he's of no use. And then he says Eggy Mule, and sorry, Eggy Mule to us was the funniest name ever, and to a lot of people. So,
okay.
So poor Eggy Mule. He's
that'll be my pro wrestling name if I ever get into the business.
Yes, from parts unknown, Eggy Mule.
No, I just rock. I'd say I'm from Baltimore, but then just never use the Baltimore accent.
Yeah, sure. From the west side of Baltimore, Eggy Mule.
And it's just me, the whitest guy in the world.
Yes.
In a mask.
In a mask, sure. So Eggy Mule is in prison for 5 years in federal prison. And then if you get to Shorty Boyd, and Shorty Boyd cleaned his whole act up. ACK, act. He cleaned his whole act up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in prison, and you're getting your life together.
That is correct.
That's about the size of it.
It was my intro, and you have to be Eggy Mule.
Okay.
All right, Eggy. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, Shorty. Tonight, because there was nothing new that we were really going to tackle, we are going back a couple of weeks to the release of the latest entry into the Evil Dead franchise. This is Evil Dead Burn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Slow Chemical was featured not at all, much to my personal disappointment.
Evil Dead Burn is the 6th entry in the Evil Dead franchise and sequel to 2023's Evil Dead Rise. Directed and co-written by Sébastien Vaniček and produced by Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert. The film stars Souheila Yacoub as
it stars no one.
Pig hostage number 1 as grieving widow who seeks refuge with her late husband's family at a secluded house. With their union becomes nightmare as one relative after another is transformed into a Deadite. Tandi Wright, Hunter Doohan, Luciane Buchanan, Erroll Shand, and Maude. And then there's Maude Davey round out the cast. The project was announced in February of 2024 with Vaniček co-writing the screenplay alongside Florent Bernard. After the title was revealed in December of 2024, casting began in May of 2025, followed by production in New Zealand from July through October. Evil Dead Burn opened in France on July 8th, 2026, and in the United States on July 10th, same weekend as Moana. Released by Warner Brothers domestically and Screen Gems internationally, the film earned positive reviews and grossed $63 million worldwide against a $20 million budget. So
Warner Brothers is still going out of business.
So we have a comment here, and I'll address this because it's not stupid. If you did Evil Dead, I believe they're asking if we've. Yeah, I was actually getting to that. Long ago and far away, Sean, Gavin, and I covered the Evil Dead trilogy: Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
The Medieval Dead. I'm still mad they didn't let Sam Raimi use that title.
We have not done the who did the 2013? Not who reviewed it, but who directed the 2013?
Oh, what's his face? Crap.
Zack Snyder or
no? Hang on.
What zombie franchise did Zack Snyder do that everyone says I shouldn't watch because it's too scary?
Zack Snyder?
Or is it the other way around where everyone's telling me don't see the 2013 Evil Dead? That's too gross.
The 2013 Evil Dead would be a bit much for you. It's the most graphic of them. Hang on. Where is... Fede Alvarez directed Evil Dead.
Okay.
And you kind of know him. He also directed Alien Romulus.
Okay.
The Girl in the Spider's Web, the first Don't Breathe movie.
What's the zombie movie? Not Army of the Dead. That one was fine. But wasn't there like another like zombie franchise that Zack Snyder did that's like
Snyder did one of his early ones was a remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Stars Ving Rhames is in it, among other people.
Anyway, we've never talked about it, but we did do Evil Dead Rise when that came out a few years ago.
I mean, the 2013 Evil Dead does predate the podcast just a little bit.
A little bit. By a year or two. So we did Evil Dead Rise. I'm not going to bother reading our notes from it because there's not that much to say. It was one of my favorite movies of that year. Funny enough, I was watching this one. I don't want to jump ahead into the craft review just yet, but I do. But if you'll allow me, let me say this. I'm watching this and I'm just like, oh, this movie takes your trauma and decides to turn it into a zombie outbreak. Okay. And I fed that line to the ChatGPT, and the ChatGPT
can't tell you how much I hated that direction for this.
Well, that's the thing is the ChatGPT was like, "Yes, so did the first one," and then I went, "It did," and then I sent it my notes, I sent it our transcript, and he was like, "I can see why you don't remember that because you never talked about it. All you talked about was the sound design," and I'm like, "That's very true." I talked about that the mom looks sexy even as a Deadite. That I think the movie largely worked because it was this family dealing with traumatic injury that occurred to this family, but mostly also because the family was dealing with the fact that their mom had been turned into a deadite and they were stuck in the apartment that was falling apart.
Yeah,
And
that's
what
Evil
really
Dead
worked.
Rise is not about trauma the way this one is.
Well, that's again, and I don't want to go too far ahead, but I think like they took the idea of the Evil Dead Rise and then just multiplied it by 100 to the point of making what they did with Evil Dead Rise ultimately ineffective. Like, this is someone saying, hey, Enter Sandman's a really good song. Let me take what's cool about Enter Sandman and crank it up to 100 and rip the knob off. And then, and see if people like it. And then it just sounds like an AI-generated metal song. There's a whole thing about that in the back of my head, but I don't want to talk about it.
There's something to be said, Mark, for the fact that somehow the horror genre kind of, not entirely, but a large chunk of it has been completely stymied by the Babadook. Because now everything is just trauma and grief, and every monster is a metaphor for
that actually came up during our Evil Dead Rise review. Is that we say over the course of the 2 hours that we had that review that everyone has taken the wrong lessons from the Babadook.
Yeah, and Evil Dead Rise didn't quite lean too hard into it, which was smart. This one does the opposite and is not smart.
Yeah. So that's it. I wasn't looking forward to this. I'll tell on air now the story I told you off air. Lucy asked Ricky if she could be in the show yet again, which is my girlfriend.
Only this time Ricky went, well, the cannibal corpse is coming to be on the stage.
So my girlfriend typically does not go with us to the movie. She's either doing stuff or she just doesn't want to go. But she was feeling a little left out of things and wanted to be more part of it. And I'm just, and the rule is like, you can be as part of anything that you want. You can't ruin it. You can't complain. And you're doing what we're doing, not you can't decide to do what you want to do in the middle of what we're doing, which I don't think is unreasonable. So I said, look, we're going to see Evil Dead Burn. She likes horror, but she only likes a certain kind of horror, and she definitely doesn't like graphic and gross. I think I told you what her Hereditary was like her favorite horror movie. She likes movies.
It's odd
like
that she then says, like, I don't like graphic and gross when Hereditary features several graphic decapitations.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really bother her. But my point is that we took her to this thing, and the Evil Dead movies, including Evil Dead Rise, are pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
they just are. You either accept that.
It's part of what you got going on here.
Yeah, you either accept that, and I do. I walk into these things going, all right, I know what this is going to be. I will just avert my eyes, but I'm not going to complain that the movie establishes itself as being this thing, then it is this thing. The problem is not the movie, then the problem is me. So I just kind of avert my eyes when I know something's coming. Thankfully, the movies are so bad they fucking, warn you well ahead of time so that you have time to avert your eyes before the gross happens. So anyway, so she's watching the movie through the cold open, and of course the cold open is gross and loud and frenetic and off-putting, and she turns to me as I'm laughing my ass off at the beginning of this. Like, this was the most funniest unintentional comedy I'd seen all year, up to a point. And she looks at me and she goes, "Nice movie you dragged me to." I just looked at her and I laughed and I said, "Oh, sweet summer child, I dragged you to nothing." She made it through 9/10 of the movie. The last 10th of it, she was like, "I give up," and just walked out. I'll wait for you outside. So that was her experience with it. We'll get into.
That's one way to not have her ask to come to the movies with you for a little bit again.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm seeing. I think I read to her all the movies. We're not seeing a whole lot in August. We have a couple of.
Everyone took August off, basically. Everyone gave Spider-Man a bunch of runway.
I was gonna say, well, after Spider-Man, we have a PVOD movie. We have the Megan spinoff Soulmate, then The End of Oak Street, then a Jason Statham movie, and then Coyote versus Acme, which is up against the Dog Stars. Not exactly, a lot of home runs there, but also nothing she's interested in either.
So yeah, everyone kind of just for some reason just decided August was a month for everyone to just take a knee 3 times and then punt.
Well, I mean, August has never really been. I mean, the end of the summer is usually like the beginning of August, and then that's it. In the years past, I mean, much past the second week of August, there's nothing. It's September starts like the preseason of September starts the last 2 weeks of August.
That's true.
So the fact that the first 2 weeks here is
just like summer crept into like May
and
March at this point.
We've got Spider-Man and Spider-Man to the end of the summer. That's it. We're done. I mean, you might, if you want to extend it out, maybe to the end of Oak Street, but I would say the end of Oak Street. I wouldn't necessarily refer to as a summer blockbuster either. You could have put that anywhere in the year. It's a family running from dinosaurs. I'll see it. I'll probably like it, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a blockbuster either.
I mean, we're reviewing it, so
Yeah. Well, we review a lot of things on here.
That's true.
All right, Eggy Mule. Tell us about your time in prison.
Well, it wasn't great.
For a pistol, Eggy Mule, you're doing a nickel in the Fed for a pistol.
Yeah, the cops, they did me dirty on that one. It was in fact registered.
Please do the plot now, Robert.
Oh, that's what you want me to do.
Mike, I'm so opaque.
As your background.
Shut up, Alexis.
Come on. That wasn't about what...
I'm not a floating head. My teacher says
I did not say anything about what you were wearing. That was just a comment about the background you have and how jealous I am of it.
Okay.
At no point did I reference your wardrobe.
You can get one yourself. You can just get it from Amazon like I did. Wasn't that expensive?
Yeah, I might. Anyway, so Evil Dead Burn, our cold open, which Mark referenced a little bit earlier, features Jessica as a Deadite, who's the same floating Deadite from the start of Evil Dead Rise, killing a couple of fishermen. Well, it's sort of that. Like, that comes about after we get a bit of one of our main characters, Joseph, scrabbling about through a house in the woods, listening to an old man on a recording talk about the Kandarian dagger, which is one of the only things that can be used to actually stop Deadites.
Other than a shotgun or chopping its head off.
Even chopping the head off doesn't actually stop it, but...
I don't want to fight someone as picayune as you about the rules of this universe.
They're also not super consistent.
I'm glad you said that, because in my head, I was in a knockdown, drag-out, bite-your-face fight about this, that you were going to argue with me about the rules of this universe are not consistent. But the rules of this universe are not consistent.
No, they're not, and that's why it's rare that cutting off... Total destruction of the head can work, but just cutting it off doesn't actually work. That's been demonstrated multiple times.
I mean, anyway. I guess if you completely dismember the body, like put it in a wood chipper, the spirit of the Deadite will float away to somebody else. Why it doesn't just possess the person who did the murdering, we'll never know. But my point is, like, the movie is willing to accept killing the main Deadite as killing the Deadite, unless they need the Deadite to do something else later on with somebody else. This drives me nuts.
Again, it sort of depends on what specifically we're dealing with, and these movies don't exactly follow the same laws that the Sam Raimi and Ash Williams versions do, so, Yeah. I'm not too married to it. I
will say it's one of the reasons why I don't totally... I really didn't like this movie, but I don't totally enjoy this franchise because it never established it establishes a deep lore without creating strict rules. Therefore, it takes me out of the immersion because maybe you've killed the Deadite, maybe you haven't. Maybe the Deadite possesses you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe the Deadite possesses the guy next to you, maybe it doesn't. It's so unpredictable that I can't, that it reduces my buy-in.
That's fair. So anyway, she kills a couple of fishermen. She is going now because they are warned, like, I have found the Kandarian dagger and I have hidden it in such a way that it is not sensible to the Deadites. And he gets it out of that because he's a stupid person. So now they have sensed it, and now they are coming for the dagger because they want it for whatever reason.
Well, they want it so that they don't kill Deadites with the dagger in particular. Let us assume in this world there are no physical ways to kill a Deadite. You can only dispossess the body. Then there's this thing that actually kills the Deadite. They don't want people killing Deadites. It's not that hard.
Yeah, so they're after that. We then meet several of our principal characters. People on screen. There's the French woman we're supposed to be rooting for, who's in a fight with her husband.
Rooting for.
Supposed to be, I said.
Yeah.
She's constantly in a fight with her husband, his brother, and his wife. I can't remember if it was wife or girlfriend. Forgive me, but one of those two.
Doesn't matter. She's gonna
matter at all.
She's gonna be a fancy Deadite sooner or later.
Yep. And they're at the younger brother's birthday party at a club that the older brother owns or manages or something to that effect. It's very unclear. And again, there's a big fight. The older brother drives off drunk. He runs over the Jessica Deadite, who then incants something at him to possess him, and the car lights on fire, so he dies. So now all of our people are sad. So the wife, the brother, the brother's wife, and the parents all go to the funeral near a construction zone.
It's the funniest part of the movie. They said they're going to wrap this up before a funeral. It'll be just fine. And like me, when I'm trying to do therapy and the lawn people are outside. So tell me what's going on here.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And nobody really likes the French woman because she's French.
Go back to reffing where you belong, you whore.
So the funeral is not great, does not go great. The father then wants to go see the body before the cremation. One of the funeral directors then violates several laws to allow him to do so. And at that point, the possessed Will kind of throws a possession at the dad that takes a little bit to take over, but they all go back to the house that the younger brother's been staying in, which has all gone to hell since he's been there because he sucks, as previously established. Everyone in this movie sucks. And tensions arise. We meet the grandmother, who is missing a leg, presumably due to diabetes. She's also got memory issues.
Later on, she's going to have a conversation with the Deadite and Robert Aloysius Winfrey III.
Fourth.
Otherwise
my lineage goes back further.
Otherwise known in the hood as Eggy Mule. Let me tell you how. Let me tell you how. If this movie was 2 hours of the memory diseased, Alzheimer ridden old lady, persnickety old lady, talking to the Deadite, and that was the entirety of the film, I could have listened. I never wanted it to stop. I got too little of the Deadite and the Alzheimer's woman. I wanted that to go on for 2 hours. I wish like the curtain had raised, they introduced them like the two old men from the Muppets, and it's just them having a conversation.
I don't think it could have sustained 2 hours, but I don't disagree with you that we could have done with some more of that.
Just give them the Rush Limbaugh structure. Hand them a stack of news stories and have them respond to them. When the Deadite fucking poked her in the head and said something's broken in there, I fucking root beer right out of the nose. I fucking died. Please continue, but This is a terrible movie, but that was the highlight of it for me.
That was up there. That was definitely up there. So the father gets more and more possessed. He winds up. Crud, I can't. He gets injured after a dinner that is, the dinner from hell. He gets hit with a bottle or something, and everyone goes, "Oh crap, we have to get him to the hospital." So the son and his wife.
Isn't this when he stabs the dog with the corkscrew?
He does stab the dog with the corkscrew repeatedly,
Right.
yes, and then somebody whacks him with a bottle.
Well, then he goes after somebody at the table, and then they take him out. So while he's injured from having been taken out, rather than call an ambulance, they decide they're going to transport him to the hospital or some shit.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's when his full possession takes over.
Yeah, then in the car, which is maybe the only genuinely worthwhile full sequence in this movie, he causes the car to wreck, because of course he does. Then this possessed father proceeds to attack his son and his daughter-in-law, repeatedly nearly kills both of them, does in fact kill the daughter-in-law in a pretty gruesome way. And the son runs away like a coward because, once again, everyone sucks. So he runs back to the house where the grandmother, the French girl, and the mother have had minor arguments about the nature of family, life, the universe, and whatever. Because that's really what this movie needed. So the son shows back up and he goes, "Boy, something went wrong." And then his wife, now possessed by a Deadite, shows up, says some spooky stuff. We get into a fight. The dad shows up on the outside and proceeds to shoot himself repeatedly in the head as a demonstration of, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, he's kind of a scarecrow at this point.
But for some reason, can't come in until he's invited, I guess.
You have to invite the vampires in, don't you understand?
And so there's a big fight. The dad gets involved. The dog's now possessed by a Deadite. The mom winds up kind of possessed, as does the grandmother. This all leads to a big fight between the dad and Joseph, which he loses. The French chick finds a bunch of daggers up in the attic, and one of them's got to be the Kandarian dagger. So Joseph stands around quite placidly while getting stabbed by the different knives. Like, nope, not that one, not that one. Nope, you're getting warm, colder.
Try again. Nope.
Colder, warmer. Nope. Shouldn't you be trying to kill me? Nah, I mean, you'd think logically, but no. Eventually, she finds the right knife and kills him. She goes down after Polly, who cuts her own leg off with a piece of glass. She loses the dagger briefly.
I honestly think that's what did Erica in, was the old lady trying to saw her other leg off with glass.
I got a laugh out of that scene. The look on the old lady's face, she looks up like, "Oh, you've got that and you're coming down." Like, it doesn't change. Like, oh. Yeah. She gets into a big prolonged fight with the mom and dad. She kills them both. There's a really nice decapitation sequence, because you got to have at least one of those in an Evil Dead movie. She ultimately wins, stabs the dog, burns the house down, but then her abusive dead husband shows up
as the burnt corpse.
Because it's really important that you confront your trauma, Mark.
It's very important that you confront your trauma, Robert.
So there's a big fight between those two. She eventually stabs him with the dagger and crushes his head. She's all beat to crap at this point. Not covered in blood, though. Very big missed opportunity to just drench the woman in various fluids.
As with every other Evil Dead movie, I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I know. I was sorely disappointed. Sorely.
Yeah.
So she then hangs out in the middle of the road until the paramedics show up, because somebody must have called somebody about something.
There's an awful lot of ruckus going on at the Smith house.
Oh, so that she can just look at the paramedic, the black female paramedic, and say, "My ex-husband did this to me." Because this is the relevant point of the story.
And Emerald Fennel walks out to hand her an Oscar.
In a mid-credit scene, Polly escaped the blazing inferno of the house and scratches a random hiker in the woods despite crawling around on her hands to pass on the curse. And in a post-credit scene, the funeral director who didn't die, the other one, comes back to the funeral home. and finds the unclaimed ashes of Ellie. This is Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise. And then Deadite Ellie shows up and kills her. And this is where we are. This is the state of things. Mark, this movie sucks.
Yes, this is going on my bottom 5.
Probably.
Along with Pizza Movie and The Bride, though I love The Bride. And Psycho Killer. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting bottom 5 by the time we're done here. I'd like to talk about Evil Dead Rise for a moment. Evil Dead Rise takes place in a apartment building that is being condemned. And the apartment of itself has one way in and one way out. That leads to a hallway. That hallway leads to an elevator, which may or may not have worked at the time. Anyway, if you
an elevator in a horror movie, it works only when it wants to.
My point is that in order for the kids to escape the evil, they have to go into the hallway. By the time that the mom has become possessed, she's now in the hallway and establishes very firmly anyone who enters that hallway is dead, D-E-D, dead. So one of the things that works about Evil Dead Rise is they can't let the mother in, it'll kill them all. They can't get out, they'll get killed. So they have to figure out a solution to the problem of what do we do about our deadite mother? How do we get out of this mess? Given that there are no options. Okay, that all works for me. What I don't like about Evil Dead Burn, among many things, but the biggest thing is that it takes all the beats. And most of the meats. And as I said to Robert before the show started tonight, takes all the beats and all the meats and puts them in Evil Dead Burn, but then cranks the volume up to 10 and rips the knob off. So we have a house, and the house is not an apartment. This is important that people know that houses are not apartments. House on the ground floor. That if you get out of the house, you have every vector available to you to get away from this house. If you can get out, if you can walk outside of it, there's nothing stopping you from walking outside of it. They try to imitate, like I said, all the beats and all the meats by having the deadite father stand outside with half his face blown off, as if to say, if you come out here, I'm going to kill you. Here's the thing. In Evil Dead Rise, the hallway outside of the apartment was a confined area. There was nowhere to go. There was no infinite space to run. There was nowhere to get away from. There was nowhere you could go to get away from that mom, sexy as she was. Evil Dead Burn, you're telling me nobody could outrun him? You're telling me nobody could, Houston Alexander their way around him? And even if one person pig hostages their way right, everyone else can't run left? Again, we're doing the beat, but the beat makes no sense because it's an open area in front of a house. So this is dumb. Now, we have the traumatic injury of the family in Evil Dead Rise. Here, the traumatic injury is domestic violence. When you left this out of the plot synopsis, which I'm not unhappy about because it gives me an opportunity to talk about it here without having to repeat everything you just said. When we meet Frenchie and Punchy, right? Punchy is giving gifts to our main boy who sucks. And he's like, here's an expensive pen. Maybe this will convince you should write again. Hey, one might interpret that, even though you don't mean it this way, one might interpret that as you being a dick. No, I'm just giving him a pen because I want to inspire him. I think a good kick in the pants is good for him. Considering he's a pussy, I agree. And then there's the French chick who's like, here's a picture. This is a very nice picture, a picture you would like. And Punchy goes, you've embarrassed me, woman. And you always do this. This is every toxic relationship you've ever seen. And in the beginning, you're like, well, who's the shittier person here? The girl driving the guy nuts or the guy going nuts? And then at the end of the movie, you find out, he threw hot water on her and he was shitty to her and all this.
He didn't throw it on her, but he
doesn't fucking matter, Robert.
No, they were involved in a fight and he was clearly more the aggressive party.
Yeah, there's no way to not interpret that as domestic violence. So
I'm not arguing.
okay. If you're really going to argue like the pedanticness over ice, he pushed her he threw the water. Who gives a fuck? Doesn't matter. My point is, like, at the end of the movie, like, oh, he was shitty to her. And so, this is, again, you have the traumatic injury of Evil Dead Rise, where you have the loss of the mom and them dealing with that. But, now we're going to throw the horror blanket on top of it. Here, you haven't dealt with that the entirety of the movie. You've dealt with here's the thing. You deal with the families, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Enabling of him. You deal with the family, hiding their shame of it all. Then the fight is with the family. It really shouldn't have been with the guy, but then they bring the guy back like he's the final boss.
Because of course the abusive white American man is always the final boss, Mark.
But that's my point. This is what I mean by it's the same beats as Evil Dead Rise, but made so much fucking worse. Because while Evil Dead Rise, they directly dealt with whatever the injury was by pitting the mom against the sister. In Evil Dead Burn, the fight is really with the family, and she fights enough of the family too, but they're not the main thing that she has to deal with at the end to resolve the problem. They have to bring the guy back who hasn't been a part of this movie. His death is the inciting incident. He's not the villain.
Yeah.
But because we need a villain, we need a final demon. There he is.
Yep.
And it undermines the movie in a way that made a okay movie that much worse. So there's two problems I have with this. You're imitating the hallway thing poorly. You're also imitating the confrontation with the traumatic injury poorly.
Yep.
Now let's talk about craft issues. So one of the things I liked about Evil Dead Rise was the sound design, the crunching of the glass, the breaking of the eggs, the shattering of the light bulb.
One of the things we talked about a lot, there's an exterior storm going on that entire movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the sound of the rain tracks around you depending on where they are in the house.
That's gone in this movie.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing about this movie that is that level of crunchy, ethereal, viscous, nothing. Like even like the gross stuff is just gross because it just looks gross to me. I have a very famous aversion to like gross liquid stuff. But like in Evil Dead Rise, there's eating of glass. There's different things. There's how the mom even looks as a Deadite, which I joke about because the woman has a hot like body to her. But I remember commenting on like the makeup. Like they made her look equal parts like horrifying and attractive. I don't know how it was accomplished, but it's amazing looking. It's like one of the defining features of that movie is the look on her face that is equal parts evil and equal parts hot. There's nothing like that in this movie. There's no imagery that stays with me. What stayed with me was some funny parts. Like the girlfriend who becomes a Deadite interacting with the grandmother is genuinely hilarious. The
Deadite's dealing with someone who's got Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia. Like that is one of those things that maybe like I'm shocked Sam Raimi never explored it mostly, but
so that's what's genuinely funny to me. But even like I've seen I've seen other Evil Dead movies with someone sticking out of someone's neck and they have to like pull it out. Like that's an old trick. They tried to emulate the sexiness of the mom in Evil Dead Rise with the girlfriend or wife or whatever the hell she is in Evil Dead Burn, and two different actresses, not even close. Two different makeup jobs, not even close.
Two different directors with wildly different sensibilities. So again, not even all that close.
Yeah. Like if you'll remember, a lot of like the imagery from Evil Dead Rise is the mom like doing a sexy catwalk in the hallway. And their way of imitating that and emulating it is when she walks in, takes the thing out of her neck, does a sexy walk, to the candle, drinks it, and does and says the Aristocats. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? So, you know what I mean when I say that? Like, it was very much like ta-da. And which brings me to the last thing I wanna sorry, the guy's screaming in the comments. Fuck Paramount for no Mermicorno Starfall season 3. And then he yelled at me to notice my comment. Okay, I've noticed your comment. You are seen. You are special. Someone give you a hug. Robert, give him a hug.
No.
All right. Eggy Mule would have hugged him,
No.
And then shot him. But
reverse the order and maybe.
All right, fair enough. So anyway, the last thing I want to say about this, and then I'll turn it over to you. Also, I have to go run to the bathroom. Everyone could have left. In Evil Dead Rise, one, you're dealing with children, in some cases very young children, and their mother. And while clearly their mother is fucking become possessed, like, the kids are kids. They don't quite know what to do with this. Also, they can't get away. So they are, even though everything is hot, wet, and on fire, and their mother is a zombie, they still, there's nothing much they can do. So they're just dealing with the facts on the ground. There's nowhere for them to go. Here, you have the father who's suddenly acting crazy, and then they somehow survive this fucking giant car wreck. Then another zombie walks in the room, does the ta-da thing. Why the mom, the French girl, the boy, and grandma didn't make a fucking run for it, I'll never know. And I'm sorry, I don't buy the fact they would have been attacked by Dad the Deadite. No. There's no reason to have stayed in that house. They stayed in that house because the plot needed them to, because they had to get the MacGuffin. Which, again, like, if you know who knows where the dagger is, just possess the guy. Don't you then get his memories? Or, I've possessed your body and I'm going to make you run into the wall until you tell me where the fucking thing is. This is a movie full of contrivances imitating a movie that had answers for all of these questions. This is a poor cover song of Evil Dead Rise. That's the worst thing about it. And if you're like, but the kills, but the grossness, it's an Evil Dead movie. One, there's nothing as memorable as anything in Evil Dead Rise. Two, there's nothing as good as anything in Evil Dead Rise.
Also, yeah. If crying out loud, Evil Dead Rise ends with 3 bodies kind of amalgamated together being fed into a wood chipper.
Yeah. This she fights, a fucking half-charred skeleton. And the worst thing about it is when she falls into the machine, the metal goes through her ankle. And even still, she fucking Supergirls her fucking leg off of the thing and crawls out of it. Okay? Like, if you're going to do Evil Dead, and I was telling, because I brought my kids to this, and they've never seen a single Evil Dead movie, so this was a fun one.
This being their first exposure to that is just terrible. That's
yeah. I told them, like, you got to go back and watch Evil Dead Rise. It's a much better version of the same movie. But I said to my kids, I said, the Evil Dead movies are kind of known for your final image at the end of the confrontation, seeing your final person, whether it be Ash or the sister or whoever, just caked in blood. And we didn't get it here, and we're worse off for it. Go ahead and start your thing. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're definitely worse off for it. This is probably the weakest of the Evil Dead franchise by a non-trivial margin, I think. There's a handful of just blatant misunderstandings about what you should be doing with an Evil Dead movie. And there's plenty of space to play within the world of an Evil Dead film. Part of the problems, there's a segment of the fan base and the marketplace larger in particular that struggles with these movies when they're not just goofy. And I understand that, but if you don't have Bruce Campbell, trying to do these goofy is, and when I say Bruce Campbell, I don't necessarily mean literally Bruce Campbell. you need someone like that who can kind of sell in equal parts the horror and the humanity and the tenacity and the utter ridiculousness of everything that's going on. And we clearly didn't have anyone like that in this film. So if you can't have someone to help you play it silly, you have to play it a bit straighter. That's fine, but you then have to like deliver something when you do this as a straight horror movie that you can't quite get anywhere else. And the notion that, well, there's a couple of gross kills, like, yeah, that's not like gross kill is the big category. There's a subcategory of like Evil Dead style gross kills.
My kids could not stop comparing this to Terrifier.
Okay.
Hear me out on their, without having seen Terrifier, but they were like, Terrifier is a collection of gross kills. All
Yes.
this was a collection of gross kills, and they're not nearly as gross as Terrifier. Like, they look
Not
like,
even close.
What's hilarious is my daughter had like struggled with it, but she struggled with it for some internal reasons, and some of the stuff in the movie really bothered her. But in terms of like with the actual like grossness of the movie, they were like, "We've seen Terrifier. This is bullshit." And the thing about Evil Dead is, it was funny. They were like, "What is an Evil Dead movie?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a zombie story, but the zombies all have borderline personality disorder." And so it's a lot of gaslighting, you know. But that was the thing. That's what gave the Deadites a lot of personality in the first 3 Evil Dead movies, is that they truly fucked with people.
Yeah, they're not just mindless. You know, they're not mindless
Right.
zombies. You are possessed, and they do everything they can to mess with you.
Yeah, like, you know, even with Evil Dead Rise and the mom, it's like, you know, like, oh, your mommy's with the maggots now. Like it's a horrifying line because that's their mom saying that to them. You know, there's nothing like that in this movie. Like the worst of it is maybe like the honestly, the scariest thing was the old woman saying, "You can't have my money."
Just, you know, speaking of the, like, you also try to get a couple of like iconic or at least memorable bits of, you know, visualization that stick with you. I mean, the best looking stuff from this is maybe the Jennifer Deadite early when her head falls off and is just kind of sitting there still talking to the poor guy stuck upside down in the car that's about to catch on fire. That's the last time this movie feels like an Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
Is when, like, oh yeah, it's you. You're close enough to what we're gonna do, and then head slowly falls off and rolls, and then just sits there, and there's still somebody talking to you, and they're still saying terrible things, and you're stuck there, and like that's an Evil Dead sequence. And there's nothing even close to like that in the rest of the movie. Oh, he falls backwards onto all the cutlery in the sink or in the dishwasher.
And then he's fine 5 minutes later.
Like, you got to commit to that one way or the other, and you don't.
Yeah.
You know, the rotary saw decapitating
I was gonna say, it was played like Mick Foley falling on tacks in King of the Ring.
Yeah. You know, the rotary saw decapitation in the chimney was kind of cool, but we also didn't see enough of it.
By the way, did you notice that when her face was being pressed into the rotary saw to the point where it looked like it was like cutting her face and cheek, and then 2 minutes later, when they need her to be a hero, the injuries are gone?
Yeah. No continuity.
No.
So you've got a distinct lack of like Evil Dead style kills, Evil Dead style iconography. The Deadites are, as a personality force, are kind of misunderstood here. They're a bit too singular. They're not funny. They're not engaging. Like, you get a couple of bits where the people are like being possessed and slowly turning, and those can be creepy. But once they fully turn Deadite, they don't do what Deadites are supposed to do. Like, there is a serious level of malicious glee that these entirely malevolent, evil entities take in tormenting and torturing the souls and the lives of people that they can, because they exist as pure evil.
If you're a bad person and you've done some bad, like, here's the thing, they missed I hate the lead character. She's a nothing character that I don't root for, and I don't care if she wins. I meant to say that before, which makes this a hard movie to watch. But I feel like in an earlier draft of this movie, the Deadites did fuck with her a lot because there was a lot to fuck with her about.
Mm-hmm.
She's the thing about that first sequence of them in the club is that she is awful.
Yeah.
She's absolutely being awful to her boyfriend. The fact that her boyfriend does not have patience for her anymore and freaks out and does a bunch of toxic male stuff doesn't forgive the fact that she's awful to him. They are, your description of what's her face and Ben Affleck from Deep Water, like they're just two toxic people setting each other off. I always thought it was a bit much. Here, it's accurate.
It was accurate in that movie too, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. But my point is, like, you want me to root for this girl who's just as awful as the boyfriend, but because you're elevating her past the point of scrutiny because she was domestic violenced. Like, this is so modern Hollywood in all the worst ways.
It's profoundly off-putting.
But had they used the Deadites correctly, they would have been teasing her. They would have been gaslighting her about how awful. They would have said you're the reason he's dead. And there would have been a lot of imagery.
They do that like once and it never sticks.
Right. That's the point that I don't even remember it. Like, there should have been an entire sequence dedicated to making her feel like she's the whole reason he got into that car wreck.
Yep.
And they just leave it all. They leave all the meats on the table.
Yeah, just missing softball after softball after softball with this movie.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets to one of my big, like, conceptual problems with this film. This movie really did need Lee Cronin back because he understands a couple of things about what's going on with the Evil Dead franchise that this director just didn't. There's always a tension with the Evil Dead movies. Again, like this weird balance between horror and comedy, because those two things are very closely linked to each other. Like the line between those two things is very, very soft.
Yes. The line between A Nightmare on Elm Street and There's Something About Mary, thin.
Yeah, it's certainly like Dream Child.
Mm-hmm.
Thin. So you have to have a deft hand at playing with that space, because let's not pretend that there's not some of those sequences in Evil Dead Rise, that's the most recent one we're comparing this to, that have that slight bit of awkward laughter. Like, there's not a lot, but there's a couple. Like, you see the implicit humor.
Yeah, I laughed at parts of this film and then had to look at my kids and go, it's fine, that's what these movies are.
Yeah, there is intentionally a lot of humor kind of injected into these. Unfortunately, again, you're dealing with a director who doesn't seem to have comedic sensibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of absent. So that tension is gone because there's no tension to try and navigate.
I almost guarantee you when they have the dead-eyed girlfriend poking the old woman in the head and going, something's broken in there, was not meant to be funny.
And which is insane, because if you've being around people with, Alzheimer's, dementia, that kind of thing, it is tragic and heartbreaking. But that kind of stuff happens because you need a release valve, and laughter is that. Again, like, conceptually, the other big problem going on here, and this is a real big problem with this movie, one of the like galvanizing central questions of the Evil Dead franchise boils down to, what would you do if the people if the people you love most in the world turned into monsters? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
That's, again, like, this one of the central forces going on here.
There's a great bit in Star Trek V where Sybok is taking everyone's pain, and he does it to Bones, and they show you him doing it to Bones, because a lot of time in Star Trek V he says, I couldn't help but notice your pain, share it with me, and then he just does it and they cut away. With Bones, they kind of have a little mini therapy session, and Bones admits that like his father was on some sort of life support, and enough was enough, and it was time to pull the plug. And like the next day, there was a cure, a goddamn cure.
It wasn't the next day, but it was close proximity, close enough that this is clearly something that is haunting him.
Right. And so had he only had more patience, had he only given it more time, he'd have saved his father. And this was a wound that has not yet healed on him. It's that kind of a thing. I wanted to give that as an example to what you said, where that's kind of the Evil Dead. Oh yeah, it's what do you do? I'm back on track now. It's what do you do if all of your family members become monsters? Well, you don't. The logical thing would be to kill them. They're monsters, except that they're the people that you love. And what if you can cure them? This is also the thing with Spider-Man No Way Home, where Doctor Strange is like, you have to kill all of these guys, like, or send them back.
Send them back.
You have to send them back to where they get killed. Nobody lives to see the next day in these fucking Spider-Man movies, except for Spider-Man. And Peter's like, no, I'm not sending them back to certain death. That's ridiculous. And like, what if we can save them? And so that's to compare both of those things, Star Trek V and Spider-Man, to Evil Dead. Ash is faced with this idea of like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if I can cure them. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I know I don't want them to die. What if this is temporary? What if I just have to wait out the night? I don't know how any of this works. I'm a moron. I'm a horny teenager who came to the woods to fuck. I don't suddenly understand how like necromancy works. And again, let's go all the way to Evil Dead Rise. I don't know why Mommy's a zombie. we have the book. We don't really know how it works. We read from it because, like, we're dumb. So I don't know what to do, and I don't want to kill my mother. These are not hard concepts.
My neighbor that I get along with, and the nice old lady down the street that's now eating her dog's brains out, sitting across the street, staring at me, knowing that I'm looking through the peephole at her. Like, that's the kind of stuff you're supposed to be dealing with here when you deal with an Evil Dead movie. Like it's one of the central galvanizing questions. That is completely absent here because no one is worth rooting for, and you kind of want all these people to die anyway. And you don't believe any of them going out of their way not to just, oh, thank God, I finally have an excuse. Pow. Like, no, I don't buy it. There's the scene where, Joseph is like, has a chance to shoot his dad in the head as he's strangling his wife. And he just can't bring himself to do it. And somewhere is just like, dude, your dad's a dick. You know it. You've been fighting with him half the time. And now suddenly you're just terrible because you're just terrible.
Yeah. I know a couple of weeks ago I ranted about Obsession, that I don't like a lot of these new Gen Z horror movies because I don't like Gen Z boys. I don't like Gen Z men. I think they're pussies. And here we go again with a wildly identifiable Gen Z pussy man.
It's terrible. And because there's no warmth and connection between the characters, there's no horror in what they do to each other. And that's really the ultimate thing about what makes the Deadites work is they are the most transgressive force. They take any norm, they take any relationship, they take any familiarity, and they twist it and they pervert it and they force you to violate those kinds of social norms and personal taboos. And that's what they do. And that doesn't work here because you don't care about any of these people and they don't care about each other. So who cares?
Yeah.
And everything becomes just a hollow, sad, uninteresting misery fest.
I had a thought while I was watching this movie about why I don't watch the extreme deathmatch shows anymore. This is the ones where the ring's a series of chains and guys are jumping off platforms and one guy's got a sword and every fucking match is the same now. Like, it's still going. No Holds Barred, I think it's called. But it's still going.
There's any number of places that do that kind of stuff.
The one specifically is the one that like I started watching because I hadn't seen some. I was not watching the FMW stuff when that was popular, and I didn't really have access to CZW stuff. So when Pat told me about the No Holds Barred shows, I started watching them. I was like, okay, I haven't really watched a lot of this stuff. Grossed my ex-wife out at the time, but it was, after watching a whole bunch of these, I think I'd watched about a dozen of them. I finally came to the conclusion it's the same match over and over and over again.
Pretty much. The number of people who can turn deathmatch style wrestling into something compelling on an ongoing basis is really small.
These guys mutilate each other up to the point where they might actually kill a guy, and some of them accidentally really hurt themselves. You had the one guy where Jim Cornette was like, "Oh, he tore himself asshole to appetite, falling off a fucking ladder or whatever it was he did." My point is, like, that's what this felt like. This felt like watching a no holds barred event where it's people I don't care about mutilating each other in the same way for 2 hours.
With nothing approximating any emotional investment or a decent narrative or anything. This is not a good movie on pretty much any level. It's not well acted. It's not well written. You got one or two decent shots out of it, but for the most part, it sucks. It's not good. I can't recommend it on any level.
This is absolutely on my worst of the year list. The only thing that saves it, and the only reason I walked out of the theater halfway smiling, was when I was with my kids. I don't want to be too negative in front of them anymore. But also, like, I looked at them and I said, this is the bones of every Evil Dead movie. Now, the body is as corrupted as any, zombie. This thing is full of disease and nothing works. But the bones are all there. Like, this is unmistakably an Evil Dead movie. It's just a badly done one.
Yeah. So let your kids watch the originals. Like, watch the original trilogy. Watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. Watch the 2013 one. It's gross, and you will probably struggle at times, but you're a big boy, and like I said, you can avert your eyes and just deal with it. Like, this is a franchise that actually does have a lot of interesting stuff that has happened within it. This is just very much not anything. I think the last thing I wanted to mention, a couple of weeks ago when Ben was on and we were talking, he said the best thing Evil Dead Rise did was not be set in a house in the woods. And I didn't disagree at the time because I thought it was right, but watching this, it becomes more apparent how right he was. Like, why? Why are we in a dilapidated house in the woods? You don't actually have a reason.
Yep.
The Deadites
It definitely doesn't add to anything else you do with this movie. It actually actively took away from it.
The Deadites work in any setting. Like, you don't need to be constrained to single house in the woods. Oh no. Like, there's so many other ways to go about this. And I really hope that the next one does.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, and it'll be the last thing I say, and then we'll go to the money. I threw all the notes from Evil Dead Trilogy and Evil Dead Rise into ChatGPT plus my own, and I had it pull some research because I wanted to know a few things, and it was already like starting to like write the TikTok in itself before I actually asked it to do anything, and before I gave it this transcript because we hadn't done the show yet. And it basically was like the next one's got to be a town. Like, an entire town of people gets, like, infected with Deadites.
I'd accept a small town. I'd accept, you and I kicked this idea around once when we were talking about the Paranormal Activity franchise. I'd accept a prison.
Yeah.
Like, that is I don't need an asylum. Like, this is the big thing. Like, I don't put this in a crazy house. Like, genuine Oz style prison.
Yeah.
Like, throw this kind of thing in there and watch what glorious havoc you can wreak.
Yeah, that would work. Also, I was thinking about this with like 28 Days Later, where if you have a large city, Chicago, and and there's a Deadite outbreak, and now you don't know where they're coming from. They could be anywhere, and it's such a wide open space to play in, and you're trying to figure out, like, I don't even know where it's safe. I don't know where to go.
And if you want to be like this particular director and heavy-handed social commentary, it's very easy to set this in, certain parts of Chicago, certain parts of Detroit. You set this in Detroit, and the gag becomes no one can tell the difference. There's a Deadite outbreak, so somebody.
If you're gonna pitch me on that, then I'm gonna make you do it in Baltimore.
Okay, like there's so many urban decay centers. Like, you can do this. You can make a giant.
It's so funny. There's like a drug dealer out of the corner, like dope fiend or Deadite, and like it becomes a game.
And well, okay, that's a little bit more like straight zombie apocalypse than I would get one with the Deadites. But functionally, like, part of the gag becomes people just driving to work, and in the background is, terrible stuff. What's going on? I don't know. It's Detroit.
It's Baltimore. The gods will not save you.
Like, there's ways to go about this going forward that I really hope I hope that they give this to filmmakers who don't feel so constrained and who don't feel like everything has to be a metaphor, because again, oh no, suddenly the Deadites being a stand-in for domestic violence is just stupid. The Deadites aren't really a stand-in for anything. They're their own force, and the circumstances are what reveal these subtexts.
Push back on that just slightly. Having a traumatic injury be the entry point for the Deadites works just fine.
Yeah. Having
the traumatic injury be the Deadites is a problem.
Yeah, and that's what we get here.
Yeah. It's Baltimore. I really want David Simon's Evil Dead.
No. David Simon's terrible.
You're terrible. All right. You're bipolar.
Totally. I mean, come on. You could set this in like Louisiana. And come on. You can't tell me we can't have some fun in the swamp with the Deadites.
Deadite gators.
There's so much you can do. And we're just...
Now the new game is Deadite or Cajun.
Well, that's easy to tell the difference. Be serious.
All right. Here comes the money, such as it is.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Yes, now. Alexis was supposed to be here tonight, but she forgot she was supposed to be here tonight, so she's not here tonight. In case you were wondering.
She wasn't on the calendar.
She fucking was. I'm
looking right at
it. On mine it is. Lex H, Robert, and Robert.
Yeah, wasn't on mine when I looked at it the other day, so I don't know.
You also don't always, unless I send it to you directly. If I send it to you in a group text, you suddenly don't see the link either. So you're like weird and made of Swiss cheese. Anyway. Hoo-wee. All right. This thing had an appropriate budget of $20 million. It's made 63, so it's doing just fine despite
for what it is, it's gonna be okay.
As of July 26th, Evil Dead Burn grossed $29 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $34 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $63 million. In the United States and Canada, Evil Dead Burn was released alongside Moana. It was projected to gross $15 to $20 million during its opening weekend. The film earned $2.3 million from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut $13.7 million in its opening weekend, finishing at fourth in the box office. In its second weekend, the film dropped 64% and made $5 million. Yeah, so people are, we're not exactly running out to the theater to watch this.
Dude, when even the horror people are looking at what you've produced and have gone, nah, this ain't it.
So The Odyssey is going to make $1 billion. That was the number one movie in its second weekend in a row, and only had a 27.1% drop, and it went up in 23 theaters.
Yeah, The Odyssey is doing quite well. That's not really a surprise to anyone.
So is my TikTok. I'm at like 42,000.
So, couple of fun facts about this. One, you have a bunch of disingenuous hacks out there stumping for the Odyssey going, it's already made more than Troy or Gladiator. And I have to put my head through a wall and go, you disingenuous. I'm not going to swear. But if you want to compare a movie released in 2026 to a movie released in the year of our Lord 2000, you adjust for inflation or you're just, or your head's up your ass. Because if you adjust for inflation, and this is the truly depressing thing, Mark, the original Gladiator, if it were released today, made the equivalent back then of $900 million in its box office run.
I don't doubt it.
Quality movies used to be rewarded at the box office, is the point I'm making. And these days, that's fewer and far between.
They're not making a lot of quality movies either. Or if they
I'm
are,
aware, but
they're not all going to the theater.
yeah, there's a lot going on there that we've talked about before. So that, like, it's going to wind up doing fine. But if you say this movie, it made more money than a 26-year-old movie, adjust for inflation, or you're not to be taken seriously. You're a disingenuous hack. Then, the funny stat, the total box office take of The Odyssey after 2 weeks is basically more than Warner Brothers as a studio has taken in all year. And look, I don't want to delve too deeply into this. There's currently a hold on place in the merger between Paramount and Warner Brothers. Let me just say the following, everybody, and let me be very clear. You can argue how great an idea it is. You really can. The reality is, and bear in mind, all the celebrities coming out saying, we don't think this should happen, yet y'all take multi-million-dollar paychecks from Disney, which acquired Fox. Shut up. You're pissed you're not getting paid, or your agent is telling you to be pissed. You don't actually care. You're a bunch of morons for the most part. Warner Brothers Warner Brothers isn't looking at selling because they're doing great. Like this, that's not how this works. They're not doing great. They're exploring options, and the notion that, well, if they merge, a bunch of people are going to be fired. Yeah, that's true. If they go under, everyone's fired. That's kind of how that works. So, look, you might prefer that they go to Netflix instead of Paramount Skydance. Fine, we can entertain arguments, but like Warner Brothers isn't doing this because they're just like greedy or weird. Like they kind of need the help, guys.
Also, I don't know why we got on the Warner Brothers thing, but maybe I missed something that you said. But the Odyssey is Universal, not
No. The reason that got brought up is because Warner Brothers fumbled Nolan.
Oh, yeah.
And now Nolan has one movie in this year that's basically clearing their whole box office take as a studio.
Okay. I got you. All right, let's get back to business here. Moana dropped from Moana stayed in the number 2 spot for its third week.
It's continuing to bomb.
Debuted at number 3. Toy Story dropped from 3 to 4. Minions and Monsters 4 to 5. Evil Dead Burn 5 to 6.
Minions and Monsters, man, very quiet. I think it crossed it either crossed 300 or 400 million this week.
We'll know in a moment.
Yeah, we will.
The Invite, which I've been told I should go see, is maintaining its spot at 7, 5 weeks out. Young Washington 6 to 8. Motor City debuted at 9. I believe it's an Alan Ritchson action movie. Obsession dropped from 8 to 10. Jana Nayagin debuted at number 11. Supergirl's out of the top 10.
Not surprising anyone.
Her Private Hell debuted at 14. Pinocchio Unstrung 15. Haunted Heist.
It entered the public domain, and right away somebody had a terrible horror movie.
Sheep in a Box debuted at 25.
Banned in New Zealand and Wales.
Manhunter, the re-release, debuted at 29. Gail Daughtry dropped from 18 to 30. The Piano, 34.
The Piano's a re-release.
A Sad, Beautiful World, the story of Robert Winfrey, debuted at 35. Dread, Beaten Blood, 39. Rosebush Pruning, the story of... Never mind. 42. And that was the weekend that was worldwide. Toy Story has crossed 1 billion. This is why we can't have nice things.
It really is.
So I would like to point out at this time that 3 movies that have made $1 billion this year are sequels and a biopic. 2
Yep.
animated sequels and a biopic.
That's where we are.
I tell you, Alexa sent me a fucking message about... oh, gosh, what was it? Hang on, I'll pull up her stupid message to me. This is your girlfriend. What's fucking wrong with you, Robert? Why you can't get to keep your women in line?
Why do you keep assigning me partners, Mark?
Because I'm sad and lonely.
You and me both.
Watching Masters, that's what it was. What annoyed me about this. Watching Masters of the Universe. Know how Robert called Super Mario Galaxy 10 TikToks in a trench coat? No, that's this movie. It just has the decency to fully admit it. That's your girlfriend with the stupid takes, Robert. I don't know why you let her do this.
Look, if you want to yell at her for being wrong about that, and she is, there is actually a narrative through line for Masters of the Universe, and
which means she didn't understand the original criticism and just got mad you hurt her cartoon.
Yeah, because there's not actually a story in Super Mario Galaxy, but we went over that.
We did. Just thought I'd, kick the dog while she isn't here.
Okay.
That and, pinch you a little bit too.
I don't care.
Like my girlfriend does me. I was like tired before we started the podcast, and so I went in the bed and I went, go sleepies now. And my girlfriend the entire time, Gucci, 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 the whole time, Robert, Gucci, Gucci. So I'm doing to you right now, Gucci, Gucci.
Why? Okay.
What?
Okay.
What's your problem?
You don't have time for the answer to that question.
You're right. I don't really want to know. All right. Toy Story
So after the shiny TikToks, we have a $400 million drop to The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Yep. Project Hail Mary is 684. Pegasus 3 is 656. The Odyssey is at 652. Yeah, the Odyssey for sure will be the 4th member of the Billionaires Club.
Almost certainly.
I mean, another $200 million drop to get to Obsession. Minions and Monsters, as you said, is at 413. Backrooms.
Minions and Monsters, once again, needs to be said. They had like a $40 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
You've 10x'd your budget.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Well, your last 3 movies in the top 10, and this is worth talking about. Obsession, we're going to skip Minions and Monsters, and Backrooms. You know what's not in the top 10? Star Wars, Wuthering Heights, Disclosure Day, Moana,
Supergirl,
Scream, Mortal Kombat, Masters of the Universe. I mean, and Evil Dead Burn is currently sitting at 38 between Crime 101 and 28 years later, The Boneyard. I mean, all of these movies that were supposed to be in the top 10, and Star Wars got knocked out of it. By the way, it's under Hoppers. Hoppers made more money than Star Wars: The Mandalorian.
Yeah, they released the last. I think there was one more. I think they just started airing the last season of Mandalorian.
Mm.
So
what?
There's a 4th season of The Mandalorian currently airing on Disney Plus. It's the last one.
Oh, is it really? Because I thought that was the movie we just watched.
I think
So there's a real last season of The Mandalorian.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, hang on.
By the way, did you hear this nonsense about them redoing Star Wars or some shit?
Why wouldn't they?
Because I've been pitching it for a while and everyone yells at me.
Yeah, but look, people yell at you because of course they yell at you, but hang on, let me double check that.
Lucasfilm is not currently implementing a blanket franchise-wide recast of its core characters, but the studios recently recast several specific legacy and supporting roles. Okay, none of that shit to me matters.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, wait, did they really not? I don't know. I've heard conflicting things about what's going on with The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I know if there is a 4th season forthcoming, I know it's going to be the last one.
All right, so the 50th anniversary project is what I'm referring to. For the franchise's 50th anniversary, Lucasfilm Publishing announced Triple Take, a creative reimagined retelling of the original trilogy. This will allow the brand to explore the classic stories from fresh, stylized angles rather than attempting a live-action cinematic remake. There you go.
So it's a lot of animated stuff. I don't care.
Neither do I.
Behold, what has happened to Star Wars. Nobody cares.
So I watched Wuthering Heights yesterday. And I watched Wuthering Heights because I am on a mission to make sure I watch the movies that people are talking about so that I can talk about them at the end of the year. But because I do TikTok now, I don't voice them on any of you in the hopes that we can drag a podcast out of it. I don't have to do that anymore, and that way I can spare the rest of you. So I watched Wuthering Heights, and I saw the bit with the corset, and I went, I don't understand. I don't understand why anyone thought that was sexy, or why women got wet in the pants when they saw it. Also, I didn't understand why Alexis had to deconstruct it. She's like, she's clearly standing on a box. I don't know if you know this or not. Movies aren't real. They make make believe.
The problem is, like, Wuthering Heights is supposed to be a real movie, like realistically grounded.
I don't think that's what this director intended at all. So this is the broad that gave us Promising Young Woman. So everything
Again,
she does
she's
is suspect.
terrible.
Yeah, everything she does, and Saltburn. Everything she does is suspect.
She's a monster. She's like the next George Lucas in terms of being like the great monster of cinema.
But I'm willing to watch her movies and give them an open mind. And here's the thing: like I said, I didn't read the book, so I don't have that to compare it to. I also don't. I'm not particularly, like I said to you off air, I don't have as many toys as the rest of you anymore. In fact, I practically have none. And so you can't do anything to anything anymore and upset me. I've lost interest. However, I individually, as an experience, I kind of take them tableau rase and I watch them and I go, all right, did I like this? Didn't I like it? Did it reach me? Did it not reach me? And so here's my thoughts on Wuthering Heights, whether you choose to care or not. Everybody's performance is perfectly adequate. I know you don't like Margot Robbie, but she gives a serviceable performance. Jacob Elordi, serviceable performance. Everybody else, serviceable performance. The setting looks like England. England looks like the setting. So, while it was drab, it's that area of the world is drab. It's fine. The best thing about this movie is Margot Robbie's wardrobe. And if you're not into like colorful Victorian dresses, this will not reach you. The thing that made Wuthering Heights in any way successful for me, besides Margot Robbie's pretty dresses, is you respond to movies differently than I. It's why the reasons why this show works is because you're coming at it from one angle, I'm coming at it from another angle. And while we can Venn diagram and agree on some things, we're still two very different people viewing film very differently. I am a relationships person. I am a human behavior person. And while you once yelled at me, but the themes don't matter, or when I say the themes and you say, but it shouldn't just be the themes. There are other things that make up a movie, and stop just hanging gold on something where the themes are good and everything else is garbage, was your argument to me. If I can key into human behavior that's recognizable and meaningful to me, in human relationships that are recognizable and human to me, I'm gonna, you would say, artificially inflate the movie. Therefore, I think Wuthering Heights is a competently made movie. Well, it's in focus. It's artfully done. Pretty to look at in places. But the thing I liked about it most was every relationship in the movie I've seen and been a part of in my life. That may do nothing for you. It doesn't have to. But for me, I was like, I've seen this before. I've seen the thing where the girl doesn't choose the guy, but also says the guy can't move on without her. Story of my life. And I was like, it's fun to watch that on screen. It's also fun to see the girl then suffer because of it. So, covered in leeches she was, Robert. Covered in leeches. So
were the kids in Stand By Me.
So, you haven't seen the movie, so you can't respond to that. But are there any terrible, insulting things you'd like to say to me?
No, not really.
Okay. Have you seen anything you would like to review as part of the money before we move on?
No, nothing really sticks out to me there.
Okay. Anything else going on in the world before we move on?
I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world, Mark.
relative to the show?
I imagine there are some, but we don't have to dwell on them.
You are impossible to deal with. Next week is Spider-Man. That'll be the #1 movie of the weekend. It'll probably.
Dude, Spider-Man's eyeing like an $800 million opening.
Is it really? Okay. Well, then it'll be the 4th member of the Billionaires Club.
Unless it catastrophically falls on its face after like the biggest opening ever.
I haven't. So months. I was trying to tell somebody this earlier, and they weren't getting it. I just stopped. But months before the Odyssey came out, the Angry Boys were making videos. People are already making videos about Doomsday. There's a lot of who cares and what the fuck, and they didn't build up Doom, and this looks like hot garbage. I know they didn't. I don't even want to talk about it. So already there's, we're going to have like a 6-month campaign towards, Doomsday underperforming. You know what I haven't seen? Anyone's Angry Boy video about Spider-Man. And that's the point.
No one's angry about it.
Yeah. I have not heard it's bad. So I'm guessing the people who saw it don't think it's bad, or they would have said something by now.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I haven't heard jack shit about this movie.
There's been nothing to say. It's normally this part of the release schedule, we'd be talking about all the stupid stuff Tom Holland is saying.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Holland's talking about the Odyssey. It was actually very smart to schedule those close enough together that Tom Holland in the news is not going to just word vomit everything about your Spider-Man movie.
I certainly wish Peter Parker were gay. One of those things.
Please pretend that Zendaya is attractive for 2.5 hours. No, I can't do it.
So, here's what I'll tell you. It's the last movie of the summer. Like I said, we said about an hour ago, this is it. This is the summer blockbuster finale with Spider-Man. After this, we're moving into the fall season. This summer was a loser.
Yep.
There were only a handful of wins, and most of it was kid stuff. Everything that was supposed to be a big blockbuster failed. Mortal Kombat failed. Masters of the Universe failed. Supergirl failed. Star Wars failed. Like, there's no other way to look at this, and I don't really have a big rant lined up, but we who study the movie calendar year to year, we who have started this podcast just looking at the summer blockbusters, it used to be like the Mark McGuire home run derby, and now it's the Cleveland Browns or the Cleveland Indians. I know they're the Guardians, but I'm thinking Major League.
Yeah, but the Indians made the Super Bowl, the World Series a couple of times too. Like,
okay, we had a couple of Toy Story made $1 billion. They just Super World Series.
Yeah, it's you and I have been we've been saying this for the last like 3 years, but everyone's starting to run out of excuses.
Yeah.
And
at this point, if you're still blaming COVID or streaming, you're
lost.
deluded. Yeah.
You're a complete lost cause. And yeah, this year, I mean, Disclosure Day underperformed.
Yeah, it was another loser.
Supergirl, he's bombed outright. Moana's bombing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a rough year. Marvel's gonna salvage, Marvel's gonna get a good haul with Spider-Man, and they're probably gonna underperform with Doomsday because they have spent so much money on Doomsday. I mean, that thing needs to make $1 billion to start being profitable, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're gambling on.
Well, I really just wanted to focus on like the summer because I don't remember how last summer went, but I don't feel like it went as badly as this summer.
Last summer.
Hang on, let me bring up the list here. We're gonna do this.
Well,
we're gonna play this game. List of movies 2025. So the summer starts in May and ends in, like I said, the middle of August. So May. Thunderbolts.
Bombed.
let's see. 180 million, made 382. At a minimum, underperformed. Could have outright bombed. Next, there was nothing. There was nothing in the second week of May, which in and of itself is a weird thing.
Yeah.
May 16th was Final Destination Bloodlines. I mean, that did well, but it only did well because it was low budgeted. Yeah, it was a $50 million budget, made $317 million, so that won.
Yeah,
It wasn't spectacular, but it made money.
That's machinery turning over. That's not a win.
Lilo and Stitch went head to head at the end of May with Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch was a big win. Mission Impossible underperformed, but
yeah, Mission Impossible on a $400 million budget made $598. But I think the one prior to there was one of these deals where you have to take the combined budget to shoot both movies and apply it to both movies.
A little bit of that, but even the one before that underperformed too. So
Karate Kid Legend made money, not a lot. 45 million
okay, didn't matter.
To 217 million. Yeah, it didn't matter. Ballerina, I don't think did very well.
Nope.
That was 90 million versus 140.
Hopefully they'll stop trying to make Ana de Armas a thing at some point.
How to Train Your Dragon was a big win.
That was a win, yes.
That was 150 and it made 636.
We've got what, 2 pretty serious wins?
Yeah. Elio did not I believe underperformed.
Didn't do good.
28 years later.
Didn't do great.
Didn't do great. F1.
F1 did good.
Yep, and was nominated for Oscars. That was 300 million versus 634.
That's a win.
Megan 2.0 was a bomb. It was 25 million. It made 39 million. That effectively killed Soulmate and why it's going to be PVOD. I can't wait to watch that with you.
I don't know why you want to do that, but okay.
Jurassic World Rebirth was a win. That was 254 million. It made. It underperformed, but it was still a win for Universal. It was 254 million. It made 872.
Yeah.
And people like to tell me that it's a good movie, and I wish to go to another planet.
It's not a good movie.
I'm aware.
Well, that's for them. I know. You and I, we tore that thing to shreds because it sucks.
Superman underperformed.
Yep. Probably lost money when it was all said and done.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Nope. Didn't matter one way or the other.
Budgeted at 18 million, made 64.
Again, didn't matter.
Yeah. Smurfs.
Failed.
58 million, made 124.
Yeah, again, didn't matter.
Fantastic Four underperformed.
Yes, it
did. That did 230 million to 521.
Yeah, if it made money, it was only barely, and I don't think it made money. When you factor in marketing, it definitely didn't.
All right, and then we're into August, which ended with The Bad Guys 2 and The Naked Gun. Bad Guys 2 made 240 million off an $80 million budget, so not bad. And The Naked Gun, that was $42 million budget, made $102 million at the box office.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
So you had 4 winners.
Yeah. Let me make sure there's nothing else.
For the summer.
Freakier Friday.
I mean, it did fine financially, but
it was 45 million versus $153 million budget.
It didn't do what they wanted it to. I guarantee that.
So this had plenty of losses, but I still think it had more wins than.
Well, it had 4 pretty solid wins over that stretch of time.
Mm-hmm.
This year you've got what? 2?
Toy Story.
You've got Odyssey and you've got
Toy Story.
Toy Story.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because the other one is Michael, and that was in April.
Yeah, Michael's not a summer movie.
If you want to, I think you could also include The Devil Wears Prada.
When that was that also April?
Nope, that was the beginning of May. That took the Marvel spot.
Right, because there was no Marvel movie in May.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't strike me as a summer movie, but so you could, if you want to be
I think
super
you're
generous.
I think you're being pedantic.
Yeah. If you're being super generous,
Mm-hmm.
you squeak 3. And
Yeah.
it's not that there's no other, there were other wins this summer, but
Right,
not a lot.
But again, you want to go back to the summer of 2019, summer of love, the summer
Let's
of
not.
success, where every movie made $1 billion.
Like, there were probably more successes in the first quarter, or in the first and second quarter of 2026 than there were summer season of 2026.
And that's the point with all of this is, if this podcast only existed during, from May to August, this was like one strikeout after another.
Yeah.
The occasional home run and then more strikeouts.
Well, even then, you've got some that are only
base hits,
successes financially rather than like creatively or artistically.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like again, keeping with the baseball analogy. Previous summers, there were lots of home runs. There were lots of grand slams. There was a lot of action. There was a lot. There was a lot to talk about over the summer. This particular summer was a lot of strikeouts, and at best you had a base hit, but not a lot of home runs. Certainly not. Not a lot of guys getting to home plate. A lot of guys getting out by the time they got to second base.
Yeah.
Which is a long way of saying a lot of these movies sucked. But they not only sucked, nobody saw them. Or they were great and nobody saw them.
Yeah, in fairness, He-Man or Masters of the Universe seems to be finding its audience on Amazon Prime, so they're happy over there.
Yes, it's this year's Red 1.
Well, that was almost exclusive. That should have been exclusively to streaming.
Right, but it doesn't change what I just said. Nobody went to go see Red 1, but everyone loved it once it got onto Amazon Prime.
That's not true.
Oh, people enjoyed it. All right, I take it back. People saw it on Amazon Prime. It was well seen.
Yeah, Matt, you were kind of hip to this before a lot of people. Amazon's probably okay losing money at the box office if this finds a big audience on Amazon Prime because it's Amazon.
Yep, but it goes to what I said when we reviewed Masters of the Universe, and that is they'll take a slip and fall on this one just for it to be seen on Amazon and everyone to go, oh well, the next time they do this, I'll go to the movies. This was fun.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me today, like, who the fuck's making movies about like 80s cartoon characters?
Almost everyone.
I was told that by one of my clients today. Like, why would you do this? He's like a 20-some-odd-year-old kid. He's like, stop making movies about 80s cartoon characters. Nobody knows who they are. Like,
people who go to the movies see them.
Yep. All right. With that said, here comes the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yep.
The number of people, I guarantee you, the number of reviewers who are just like, it's so great to see a woman stand up against domestic violence, and that's the sum total of why they like this movie.
71% on the tomato meter. Top critics. Oof.
There. See, the brave ones who know what's up.
Verified audience, 75. All audiences don't understand how movies work. All right. Sébastien Vaniček spills guts with glory in this latest installment of Evil Dead, featuring the meanest, nastiest, and ickiest chapter. Oh, get the
Not even close.
That is sure. They left the final images of the girl like caked in like 2 inches of blood on her.
Good grief, man. If you want to talk about meanest and nastiest, watch the 2013 one. That is a mean movie. And I say that with love.
With a wickedly satisfying burn, for more. And the audience says, the Evil Dead DNA is ablaze. Cities aflame!
This is what happens when you have LLMs summarize in a paragraph.
With rock and roll. Down. in this visceral new installment that brings the Deadites front and center for a truly gruesome experience, even if the story has all the subtlety of a chainsaw and a boomstick. Oh, fuck off.
This movie does not earn in any way a connection to the greatness of Ash Williams.
Justin Fennelly of Movie John. Evil Dead Burn is a fun ride, proving there's still enough life in the corpse of the franchise. Ugh.
This is not a fun ride. It's not even. I'm a gore hound. Like I'm down for this in theory. No, this is not a fun ride. Yes, there is still plenty of stuff you can do with the Evil Dead as an IP.
James D. William wants to be invited to parties. In session film. This outing in the Evil Dead series easily lands in my top 3 of the 6 movies.
This is the worst. This is the absolute worst and least interesting of all of them.
Yep. Andrea Thompson, A Reel of One's Own, B+. Evil Dead Burn will not only keep you guessing as to who the survivor will be.
No,
didn't care.
How stupid are you?
It also brings back some of the devilish humor the franchise was known for.
No.
Along with the required blood and mayhem. She wrote this review before she saw the movie.
The humor is absent, basically. Terrible.
Walter Choa, Film Freak Central. Vaniček's timing is uncanny, trip hammer like a trapdoor spider.
He copy and pasted his review of Infestation for that. I almost guarantee it.
Cara O'Doherty of Irish Examiner. Evil Dead Burn is a solid blood-soaked no, it isn't. Blood-soaked entry that should satisfy those who already appreciate the series' unique blend of terror, excess, and humor.
As someone who really loves the blend of terror, excess, and humor this movie should be having, no, it has none of those things.
Perry Nemiroff of Perry Nemiroff YouTube. Sébastien Vaniček embraces the traditional Evil Dead style and then packs his film to the brim with downright brutal and wildly creative set pieces.
No.
And every single one of them. This movie is closer to Saw than it is Evil Dead, where that's concerned.
In some respects, yeah, I can see that. No, it's not. Please stop. What's wrong with you people?
Stop! You're hurting me! Let's see. Randy Meeks of Espinoff. If you just want to see grotesque scenes, gushing blood, severed limbs, and demonic dogs with a hunger for a snack, this is your film. If you want to dig a little deeper, I'm afraid you'll find a void that's hard to overlook.
No, even if you like gruesome stuff, this movie's lacking severely in all categories.
Pramit Chatterjee wants to be invited to parties of Digital Mafia Talkies. Evil Dead Burn is one of my favorite movies of the year. Did you see? Was the other one The Bride?
No. Like, if you watch The Bride and Psycho Killer in this, maybe, but like, come on.
Robert Winfrey's friend, Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com.
Not sure that's true anymore.
7.5 out of 10. Whoa, Jeffrey Access Hollywood Harris. Director Sébastien Vaniček mostly hits the right notes with Evil Dead Burn, thanks to his strong visual style and command of the camera.
There's one sequence in this that like took decent directorial skill. That's it. That's like the one shot where we're following her crawl away from the men fighting.
What's the word I said before about when you enable? Resident sex pest enabler, Dan Merle of Dan Merle Reviews.
Well, come on, if the criminal charges against Vince McMahon are being dropped, anyone can do it.
True. It definitely has that Raimi style nastiness, but could have used more of the devilish excitement you can feel coming from behind the camera.
No, this is really like it's actually lacking the pop of the gleeful gruesomeness that Sam Raimi injects into these things. That is absent here entirely.
What have I told you this entire podcast, Eggy, about keeping your women in line?
I don't know what you want from me, Mark.
A strong pimp hand. Carla Hay of Culture Mix. Evil Dead fans might have mixed reactions to this lean and very mean-spirited addition to the franchise.
It's not mean-spirited is my other big gripe with this movie, man. It's nice.
The gory kills,
Toothless.
creepy tone, and striking cinematography are standouts. However, this movie falls back on typical horror cliches towards the end.
Towards the end, the whole damn thing.
William Stoddard, loud and clear reviews. Evil Dead Burns follows a familiar formula. Foolish characters read the Book of the Dead. We are privy to their gruesomely entertaining suffering. Thank you for writing a log line.
You are of no value, sir.
Boy. Kerry O'Shea of Warp Perspective. If it overdoes it with the callbacks and just one more thing at the very end of this film, then this film doesn't seriously detract from an overall deeply disturbing, unflinching study of family-centered ultraviolence.
Once again, you got the super text and mistook it for reading subtext and decided you were smart.
There's a lot of that going around.
Boy, is there.
Matthew Jackson of Pop Heist. I think I can safely say that there are still no bad Evil Dead movies. Sure,
This is
there
a
are.
bad movie.
Because for all its flaws, Evil Dead Burns is far from a failure. No, it isn't.
No, it fails pretty hard.
I would like for these people to redo their reviews as if it didn't cost them, like it wasn't going to cost them their access to people in Hollywood or places in Hollywood.
If,
Like,
if the relevant people weren't going to become so thin-skinned, they'd never take your phone call again.
Jamie Jurek of the Mary Sue Robert Winfrey. Byrne manages to stand on its own while being stacked with franchise Easter eggs.
What a terrible sentence.
Tara Brady of Irish Times. Instead, Evil Dead Burns brings a convincing new French extremity. Get the fuck out of here.
Not even close. No. Okay.
You've never seen a French extreme movie.
Okay, just here's the thing. This particular director comes from the wave after the actual wave of French extremity, so he's quite tame by comparison as someone who very much enjoyed Martyrs, and stuff like that. No, this is nothing.
Speaking of nothing, William Bibiani, friend of the show, best friend of the show, actually. The Rap. It's not the smartest Evil Dead. It's not the funniest Evil Dead. It's not the best Evil Dead. But it's the evilest Evil Dead. And that feels right. Dead right.
How is this the evilest? What is the I don't know where you people can watch this movie and then watch something like Rise or the 2013 version and go, those are less mean-spirited and evil. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I'd have written a more accurate review if I had just yelled Pickle Rick.
Probably.
Matt Oakes of Silver Screen Riot, A-. No line is left uncrossed.
There's several lines uncrossed.
No digital hole left ungored.
That's not true either.
Few modern horror scenes in delight and creative human suffering, quite like Evil Dead and Burn, somehow managed to keep up the already ridiculous standard of imaginative cruelty previously established.
What's imaginative about any of this?
I don't know, but we've said that before, that what people think is imaginative in 2026 is lame and tame. And
good grief. Rewind.
And when you compare it to anything in the 80s or 90s. Or
no
70s,
kidding. Watch the 2013 one. They turned the tree rape scene into something that's genuinely disturbing. No hole left ungored in this one. Piss off.
Yeah.
How many orifices do you think there are? Oh, she got a pen in the ear. Yeah, she did.
You know what? Instead of having the dad out there shooting himself in the face like a Looney Tunes character, have the trees attack them. That's why they can't leave.
Yeah, that's one of. There's so many things you could have done to fix this and make it better. They didn't do any of them.
Have them bum rush the dad, run him over. He turns, does a and the trees start grabbing him and ripping pants off. That's what I would have done. And my girlfriend with the line of the night. This movie was garbage. Hot, bloody garbage. The Mary Sue.
So again, this
I
is
am
one of the
difficult
worst.
to live with.
This is one of the worst movies of the year. It's not the worst.
No, this is still my number one. Is still fucking Psycho Killer.
I think it's still The Bride for me, but we can
Ugh.
fight about that when we get to the year end.
Did The Bride make you angry?
I felt The Bride was trying to insult me,
You in particular?
sort of. Anyone who paid money for it.
Okay, that's a weird. It's weird that you ascribe that level of maliciousness to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
She's a bitter, bitter woman, Mark. Have you heard her talk?
I mean, in general, I watched 3 seasons of The Deuce.
No. I mean, no, not act. Have you heard her talk?
I know. I was being funny. I have not seen a lot of her interviews. If you want to send me a couple, I'll try to
She
fit them
is
into my
bitter
day.
and can't see past 2016.
Okay. I'll take your word for it, and I will award you 1 point to Gryffindor.
So, and yeah, it angered me for a lot of reasons. And
Okay.
you can listen to Alexis and I talk about it in the archives, and Mark and I will rehash this discussion at our year-end show when that comes around, because
It did not anger me. I've already talked about this. It did not anger me. I thought a lot of it was hilarious, but I guess I'm separating the art from the artist. But there's a lot of the artist in the movie, and if you know that, then I guess it changes your viewing of the movie, and I respect that.
It's a movie that is simultaneously shrill, loud, and deeply insecure.
Which I believe is a great way to end this podcast. Loud, shrill, and deeply insecure. And damn you, Hollywood. All right, this Thursday, Kat's back from her hiatus. Sean's back from his home planet. And we are looking at the late, great, but still alive and red-haired Molly Ringwald. I am a master of ceremonies in the English language. Anyway, we'll be looking at The Pickup Artist, which did not age as well as I'd hoped. Pretty in Pink, which I watched that with Erica, and it occurred to me 20 minutes into the movie that I'd never seen it before. And For Keeps, which I know I'd never seen before, but is the most movie of the 3. For what that's worth.
Look, Pretty in Pink has been memed to death, but like any movie that establishes every trope you've ever seen since, that's kind of their fate.
Yeah. Next week we will have Spider-Man. Brand new day.
We will.
And then Thursday, the lovely, vivacious, effervescent, good to her mother, an angel sent from heaven, the sweetest thing. She's only 17. Welcome to the jungle, Shay Tate. And we will be discussing the $1 billion baby that is Michael, which is only half a movie, the Bohemian Rhapsody, and The Doors.
Worst edited. Bohemian Rhapsody is like the worst edited movie you've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm well aware. And The Doors from Oliver Stone. It'll be like the first time in a very, if at all, in a very long time that we've discussed anything Oliver Stone on this network. It's like a glaring fucking gap in what we've talked about.
Jeez, I think you're right. I mean, you may have tackled JFK at some point with
Nope.
somebody else. Really?
Nope, we've never talked about JFK.
Hang on.
Really should have.
I must.
Increase your bust.
No.
Oliver Stone.
Hang on.
Okay,
I gotta look up.
No, I'm doing the same thing that you are, and I can tell you right now, we've never done the Conan movies.
Well, hang on. He only wrote those. Hang on. Let's look at directing only, right?
Okay. So
Well, we've never talked. I know we've never talked Platoon.
we meant to. It never happened.
Yeah. We've never actually reviewed Wall Street.
Nope. We've never done Born on the 4th of July. Never done Talk Radio.
JFK, you already mentioned. Natural Born Killers, Nixon.
Yep. Evita, no. Any Given Sunday. That's the only one.
No Wall Street sequel, no Snowden, no, yeah. Good grief. That is kind of surprising that several of these just never came up in other
Well, and again,
triple
like
features or
I
whatnot.
only started doing like the director focuses. Let's see, it was probably 2023, I guess, or 2024.
Still, even then, like I'm just shocked that a few of the like Wall Street and Platoon in particular that they never found their way into other thematic.
Well, again, I
pairings.
think Platoon was scheduled to be a Veterans Day show, and it never happened. You know,
Okay.
but yeah, Platoon has never been talked about.
By
so
us.
eventually,
Plenty of other people have said a lot of stuff about it.
We're the only one that matter. But eventually, I should do a focus on Oliver Stone. Why don't you go ahead and do your plugs?
All right. You can find me covering mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. I cover WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. Let's see. So there was SmackDown on Friday, which was a pretty good show, actually. They paced it well. There were, not everything was great, but it was nice to have SmackDown be watchable, if nothing else. So thumbs up. Saturday morning, pretty early actually, we covered the UFC in Abu Dhabi with UFC Fight Night 282, I think it was. Headlined by Magomed Ankalaev and Bogdan Gushkov in one of the worst fights of the year. That fight was terrible. Absolutely dreadful. For a lot of reasons. So you can find my full report of that card, top to bottom. There was other good stuff on it. Over in the MMA zone of 411mania.com. If you want another talk down about it, I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, which this last episode started rough with some minor technical difficulties. And, other things. So we reviewed that. We previewed this Saturday will be the UFC's debut in Serbia. And they've got like 14 fights crammed onto that card. And your main event is Erroll Shand versus Daniel Rodriguez, who was just barely not that long ago released from a Mexican jail. I wish I was joking. So you can find a full preview of that on the podcast. I will be covering it this Saturday. I got asked to cover SummerSlam. I can cover Sunday. So you can find me talking about the covering WWE SummerSlam.
What are you doing Saturday night? Hot date?
Well, Saturday morning is the UFC event.
So what's going on Saturday night? Hot stuff?
I don't think the timing is quite conducive to going from one to the other.
Oh, like there's overlap?
Yeah, I think there's just enough overlap that I can't, in good conscience, say schedule me for that. So we'll see. If I get done early enough, I will. If I get done in time, I will certainly tell my editor, hey, if something goes really catastrophic, I'm okay to pick up. But I also, I got the worst end of that gig. Night 2 is going to be main evented by the debut of Zilla Fatu. Like, who cares? God. I'm so sick of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, Mark. I'm just so tired. They've been doing the same damn thing for 10 years at this point.
Tired Robert Winfrey makes me sad. This is terrible.
It's more bloodline BS because we just decided to go back to that. And then you got Seth Rollins doing his stupid laugh and his stupid outfits and talking about the stupid chair from the stupid Shield. And it's the Shield chair in the back. For 10 years, the same damn thing from these same people who've never been able to really. Seth Rollins, I saw this fight on Twitter and I got involved in it. Like, Seth Rollins has never made anyone. He's been in the main event for 10 years and he's never made anyone. What a failure. A catastrophic failure.
Who did Bray Wyatt debut against when he came out as the Fiend?
Finn Balor.
Oh, then you're right. Then he made nobody.
Well, no, then he wrestled Seth, and a couple of the matches were terrible, including maybe the worst match of all time in the Hell in a Cell match.
But I was specifically referring to when Bray came out and all of you people stained your pants.
No, his debut was against Finn Balor, which was a great choice, it turned out.
Yes, which is why I then retracted that piece of evidence, Your Honor.
Yeah. He put over Claudio and at WrestleMania. Then he won every other match. Oh, he put over Buddy Matthews, and then but where's Buddy, by the way? And he ain't there anymore, is he? Now, he lost the last match to Riddle. He won every other one, only lost a match that no one was going to talk about because Fat Daniel Cormier was the ref, and then Bray Wyatt returned to actually close the show. And he just refused to put over Braun Breaker, who is now stuck as like the heavy for Logan Paul.
Just put the belt on Logan Paul and let him beat everybody.
We're this close because Logan Paul and Tom Brady are going to do a thing.
Oh, are they? Great.
Tom Brady slapped Logan Paul at a WWE event, so you know it was worked. But yeah,
I hope the WrestleMania main event is Logan Paul versus Tom Brady.
Dude, a couple of years ago, Kenny Omega, very famously on a podcast, said this, I'm sad. He said, I'm sad that, we're not that far away from like the main event, the actual, by God, main event of WrestleMania being Logan Paul versus Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
He was not wrong.
Nope.
I mean, and, it's not like Roman is some God's gift to getting people over, but he's done a better job than Seth.
Have you looked at the comment section of my Odyssey TikTok?
Not recently.
Having looked through the comments of it, and there's like 3,000 some odd comments, I think, on it now. And 40,000 views.
We get it. You're big time.
Thank you. I work hard. I deserve this. My point was that after having looked through the comments, and I think you could say this about the comments on like 401 Mania too, if you really want to, they get the wrestling they deserve.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
There's a segment.
You absolutely get the content you deserve. As far as I'm concerned, everything has led to Mr. Beast versus Logan Paul. And I have no one. There's no one to blame but ourselves. We are the enemy.
It's Mr. Beast and Logan Paul, so it can be on ESPN and YouTube.
Yep.
And the entire match is not actually a match; it's a series of run-in by advertising mascots.
I would enjoy that.
You would because
because I don't take anything seriously anymore, and none of this means anything to me.
Yeah, and not only no, it's not just that.
It's a lot of that.
It's a lot of that. But there's a serious part of you that would enjoy the malicious destruction of that institution.
Yeah. Burn it all down. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the line, I became one of the burn it all down people. I don't need to profess it while blowing through a trombone, but I'm happy to watch as everyone else does it to themselves.
Well, and in fairness, if there's things that you can want to burn down, something as stupid as a professional wrestling promotion is an okay thing to say. Maybe this should go away.
All right. Maybe this should go away is the saying of damn you Hollywood.
The enforcement of the laws of the country. Maybe not so much. Maybe those are kind of important.
Yeah, really. So are you done with your plugs?
So anyway, you can find me doing those things. And yeah, Spider-Man next week. So tune in to hear Mark go, I don't care about Spider-Man. I had a good time watching it. And my son looked at this and looked at me, and after we were done, and said, Father. He calls me Father. The light in my eyes is dim just a little bit because I don't care about a guy with spider powers saving the multiverse while trying to woo a woman who looks as disinterested as insert various female figures in his life.
And my daughter will wipe a tear from her single eye and say, but I like Zendaya.
I'm sure she will.
Well, stay tuned for more of Mark's family movie drama on Damn You Hollywood.
And then there will be me going, I hate everything here.
For 15 years at least. All right. For He Hates Everything, I'm the wire quoting machine. Be well, be safe, and behave.